All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the live stream. Streaming on like multiple different platforms here. Hopefully, everyone can hear me loud and clear. In case you don't know me, my name is Taylor Kitchen. I talk about NASCAR all the time. Typically, after the races, I am doing. Oh, hold on. Hopefully, that's better. Hopefully, we can all hear me now. But typically, after the races, I do a full recap on YouTube, a full put together recap on YouTube, talking about the race, breaking down strategy, etc. This was a race I wasn't able to watch completely live. So I wanted to talk through it all with you together, talk about the finishing results, talk about the key storylines. I mean, the ones that stick right out to me is what could have been for Brad Keselowski during this race, right? You think about what could have been for the 2311 team, who all had some sort of failure on their cars during the race today. So very unfortunate. Yeah, so this right now, if you are watching on TikTok, you can also watch on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, so many different platforms for you all to get in on the conversation. Thanks so much for all the likes and the comments. Let's go over your top 10 right now. Of course, Chase Briscoe winning the race, his first race win with Joe Gibbs Racing. Pretty exciting there. Obviously, started the season off strong, getting the pole position for the Daytona 500, the first pole position Toyota has had for the Great American Race. So very exciting there for him to have that. Uh, Obviously, then things took a dip when the team was issued a pretty hefty penalty by NASCAR, and they had tried to climb their way kind of out of that sense. Here we are, though, to see Chase Briscoe now locked into the playoffs. That makes the playoff picture really interesting around that cutoff line. Of course, you look at drivers like Bubba Wallace, who's a little closer around the cutoff line, Ryan Preece, who's close around that. And there's less and less places for these drivers to make up ground. There are 5 spots left to be claimed by these drivers around that cutoff line. Of course, second place, though, his teammate Denny Hamlin. I honestly thought at this point that Chase Briscoe was going to run out of fuel. I really did think that Chase was running out of fuel, and we were going to see Denny Hamlin just get another win this season. I feel like some of the wins for Denny Hamlin this year, I don't want to say have been luck, but he has really kind of just played the veteran. Kind of the cat and mouse game is what we've seen so far. And I feel like the past few weeks, we've seen a lot of fuel strategy heavy races. I personally love them. I love a fuel strategy race better than a tire strategy race any day. And to see Denny Hamlin finish in second is pretty good. You also consider that he had some time off. I say he had some time off. He was obviously helping with a newborn. Congratulations to Denny Hamlin. So I say time off, but that's also a lot to deal with as well. But he had a chance to stay home while everyone else was in Mexico City. So we had a leg up on the competition already. Denny Hamlin getting the pole for this event, but finished the race in that second position. Sean, good to see you on Twitter. Alex, great to see you on YouTube. John, good to see you on TikTok. Logano did not win, Alan. That would be correct. Jeremy, good to see you. All the RFK cars in the top 10, 2 out of the last 3 weeks. No, a great race for RFK, all things considered. And my whole thing is what could have been for Brad Keselowski. Brad decided to stay out an extra lap. Jeremy Bolins was like, I think we should bring you in this time. And Brad Keselowski was like, you know what? I think we can do it. I think we can stay out a bit more. And unfortunately, did not ultimately work out for Brad Keselowski because the time he was going to go to pit road, the lap after, unfortunately, that lap before that, there was that caution for Shane Van Gisbergen, who came off his win at Mexico City. Unfortunately, did not work out for him this weekend at Pocono. Of course, Pocono is a very tough track, all things considered. But yeah, for Brad, unfortunately, was on the wrong end of the stick strategy-wise there again. And Brad on his radio was very prominently saying, like, I always do this, my fault, etc. But for Brad Keselowski to finish inside the top 10, still, it could have been what could have been day for Brad. Also considering the conversation we had about the point standings for SVG and how he went from outside the top 30 in points to a playoff spot, I don't know if the conversation would have been as kind to Brad Keselowski if he won his way into the playoffs. But again, you win and you're in. That's the rules. But a great rebound for Brad, all things considered, like you all are saying. Good to see you all tuning in on TikTok and on YouTube, Twitter, and Facebook. Brad Keselowski just got screwed. Yeah, over from the bad timed yellow. Of course, congratulations. Nicholas says this on YouTube to Chase Briscoe, who saved at the pump. Wrong sponsor, but I love it. And won. It was awesome to see Dale Jr. winning with Connor Zilich as well in the Xfinity Series. And we'll talk about that in a second. Ty Gibbs with another bottom half of the field. I know Ty Gibbs he's struggled. He has, and we've talked about this time and time again, and I kind of came off the bandwagon of talking about it because there's only so many times you can talk about a driver who's struggling. You can't beat a dead horse at this point, right? But we'll go back into our top 10. Of course, Chris Buescher, a nice way to end the day in that 4th position. Oh, sorry, I skipped Ryan Blaney completely. Ryan Blaney, up and down in the field today, had to start to the rear of the field due to an unapproved adjustment. Came back through the field, then unfortunately, speeding penalties, so had to go to the back to the front. He had a car that was capable of winning this race. I would have liked to have seen if this race went 10 laps longer, how that battle between Blaney and Hamlin would have gone, because at that point, Briscoe would have been out of fuel. So it would have been between those two drivers. But all things considered, good day for Blaney, fighting a cool suit failure as well. So pretty impressive there. You have then Chris Buescher in 4th, talked about him already just a little bit. This racing weekend was really good all across the board. I have to say that real quick. From Truck, Xfinity, and Cup, it was just incredible, all things considered. I love Pocono. I was really concerned with the rain today, that it was going to either completely cancel the race or a lot of fans weren't going to stay. It was a sold-out crowd at Pocono Raceway. So really good to see. Chase Elliott, top 5, his second top 5 in a row. Good to see that 9 team is starting to get some more consistency on their side. And as we go into the next few races, obviously Atlanta coming up on the schedule. 1 is the first race of the bracket challenge for the NASCAR Cup Series. And 2, it's a great track for Chase Elliott. Has won at that track before, has been close to wins at that track before in the past few seasons. So hopefully this is a good sign for Chase Elliott. He is pretty solidly locked in the playoffs right now on points alone. There are 5 spots left. He is at the top of the chart of those that are locked in on points. But again, if we have a few more race winners, we're going to get to a situation where it was like 2021, where we literally only had 1 spot left and the Daytona race decided it all practically. So it's going to be a little interesting to see that there. John Hunter Nemechek, another solid finish for him. I believe this is like, oh gosh, how many times? I need to look up John Hunter Nemechek's stats real quick because he's been impressive. I cannot talk and type at the same time, but you consistently see him finishing inside the top 10, let alone sometimes the top 5 this season. You look at his results, 1 top 5, 6 top 10s. And yes, then it has his stats from Pocono Raceway already in the NASCAR.com stat list here. Really, really solid job from him. It's great to see that 42 car consistently in the mix and salvaging great finishes. Hunter, good to see you in the chat on YouTube. Yeah, the brake issues for 2311 Racing were a gump punch. I know some of my buddies on the ATYL Media channel are really big fans of Tyler Reddick, Bubba Wallace, even Riley Herbst, and it sucks to see that they could have been so capable of race wins. I think I put almost all of their drivers in my fantasy lineup on the NASCAR fantasy app because you know how good that team is at Pocono, how good Toyota as a whole is at Pocono. So it sucked to see that for them. Yeah, Ryan Blaney also didn't have a cool suit. Exactly. What a dog. Yeah, but I want to give Legacy Motor Club credit. Danny Alex says on YouTube, he says, major improvements compared to last year. Absolutely. And part of that is that strengthened relationship with Toyota this year. I think that strengthened relationship they have, even with like 2311 Racing, they have their pit crews practicing out of that shop. It's very important there too. So very good to see that. His 6th top 10, yes, absolutely, for John Hunter Nemechek. Priest is going to win this year with RFK Racing. I agree. I predicted he would win this year. I totally think he's going to, hands down. There's not a question in my mind. It's just a matter of when. Let's see, what else do we got here? Let's keep talking about our top 10. Kyle Larson finishing in 7th. No surprise there that Kyle Larson got a top 10. Ryan Priest, 8th. Brad Keselowski, 9th. And Cindric in the top 10, rounding out those results. Overall, great race at Pocono. If you guys watched the Xfinity Series race and saw my recent reel, whether it was on YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, whatever platform you guys enjoy content on from myself and the team at ATYL Media, I talked about the historic, win that was for Connor Zilic yesterday in the Xfinity Series race, where he won at Pocono, his first oval win, and Dale Jr. was his crew chief. So in his debut as a crew chief, he won. Like, isn't that crazy? Now, some people are saying, you know what? It wasn't Dale giving the strategy. Like, they already had a set strategy and Dale was just calling the shots. Like, whatever you want to believe, fine. Dale's smart, right? He's a racer. He knows strategy at this track. He knows how it plays out. And people who are saying it was a publicity stunt, fine. Okay. But like, give the man a chance to do something he hasn't done yet that's not on his resume. And of course, he's going to win his debut. Of course. It was very, very impressive. So congrats to Connor Zilic, Dale Jr. Again, is there anything that he cannot do? Some people are going to say win a Cup Series title. Okay, fine. Let me be happy for a second, right? I think the truck race may have been the best race of the weekend. The truck race was actually pretty good. I'm not going to lie. I caught bits and pieces of it in between working this weekend, but it wasn't a bad one at all. I think the truck races this year have actually been some of the best I think we've seen in the past few years. And I don't know if that's just due to the field or not. And I know a lot of these truck wins have come down to, of course, Corey Heim. I understand that. But I feel like the competition in the truck series has been more intentful. And when I say that, I mean, we're not just racing to wreck people. We're not having immature drivers on the track. Sure, there are going to be racing to wreck situations sometimes in the truck series. I mean, we have that in Xfinity and Cup too, right? But I think this is the most mature the competition in the truck series has been this year. And it's been really good to see. We have, of course, Lane Riggs getting the win during this weekend's race. Tanner Graves second. We have Honeycutt in third, Jones in fourth, and Hemrick in fifth. I will say I was so excited when Hemrick won. Was it winning at Bristol or Martinsville earlier this year? I think it was Martinsville for Daniel Hemrick. That was really exciting. I think anytime Daniel Hemrick's able to win, I get so excited because I don't know if you guys take a journey with me here. Remember when he won the championship in the Xfinity Series? It was like the most wild championship race I think I'd seen for the Xfinity Series up to that point in my time as a fan. And I'm like, he was the dark horse. He wasn't supposed to win at this point and won the championship on a last lap shootout. Pretty crazy. Byron would have mopped the floor with everyone if his car was not damaged. Yeah, I mean, you talk about how just the air is so frustrating with these Gen 7 cars. And you think about with the Gen 7 car too, Denny Hamlin actually had said after the race, like, I would try to get a run on Briscoe, but I couldn't. I'd get too tight and then I couldn't make a pass. But you try to think about like, okay, Chase Briscoe was told he was really short on fuel. He was told he was very short on fuel. One, how could you have stretched it that long? But we've also had situations before, like Joey Logano, for instance, at Nashville last year, where we thought he was completely out, stretched the fuel, and was able to win the race. So you have that give and take. But we knew that Briscoe was not going 100%, right? But Denny Hamlin was. So, there was some frustration there with these cars. There's still trouble to pass. But you also saw that some of these cars were able to make pretty significant passes this race. I mean, Ryan Blaney, I think, is a name we mention constantly when it comes to passing through the field. Again, went from the back to the front, multiple times. So very impressive there. I hope Ryan Preece wins Atlanta next week or Watkins Glen. Nicholas, I definitely think, I mean, anyone technically has a shot at Atlanta at this point, right? Atlanta now acting as a super speedway. It's anyone's game. Corey LaJoie will be in the field for the Atlanta race as well. So you can't count him out there for the Cup Series. He's been very close to winning before there in the Spire Motorsports equipment. I think he could definitely win in Rick Ware equipment potentially. But again, you have to think, is the field coming so close to the playoffs at this point? Are they going to let somebody win who's not a full-time driver? And at that point, that's honestly the best case scenario for a lot of these drivers. Don't let a new winner win because that's a spot that's taken out of the playoff standings right now, and then you only have 4 empty spots left. Maybe the field does want a Corey LaJoie win. Either the field wants somebody who's already won to win, or they want a driver who's not full-time. So maybe they are rooting for Corey LaJoie. Can we talk about the speed of Stenhouse? The 47 was up front most of the race today. Absolutely. No, Ricky Stenhouse Jr. has been very impressive this season. Thank you for the comment on YouTube there. Ooh, we're going to talk about that comment. Jeff, was that Jeff? Oh, Hal. We're going to talk about that in a second. But Ricky Stenhouse Jr. and his team has done a phenomenal job this year. And obviously going into the season, there was a whole name change for the organization. Kind of new hands within ownership for Hayek Motorsports was JTG Doherty, now Hayek Motorsports. And you're like, how is that going to impact or affect the speed of that 47 team? And it looks like speed's improved. I don't know what they found over there, what the difference really was to making that team consistently quick. But I think something that Ricky's done really good at this year is either salvaging good days or it is just picking and choosing his battles really wisely. Obviously, picking and choosing his battles the past few weeks with Carson Hocevar has been a struggle. But he was consistently towards the front of the pack, and that's something that you love to see for Ricky for sure. What is your take on Jeff Gordon's statement that Larson will not be allowed to do the double in 2026 from Hal on TikTok? I actually have not seen that statement before, so let me check that out. Says Larson will not do the double. 2 days ago, 4-time NASCAR Cup Series champion Jeff Gordon has commented, I was like, I don't have my glasses on, so apologies. Commented his driver's attempt at claiming the double will not attempt the double in 2026. Jeff Gordon cited the new Kyle Larson rule, which requires NASCAR drivers to start every points race to be eligible in the playoffs as a primary reason for the decision. He explained the logistical challenges and risks associated with attempting both races on the same day are too significant. And that I understand too, right? Obviously, attempting the double has been a major feat. In any other year, this would have been fine, right? But obviously, we picked the 2 years where there is rain, whether it's in both series or just one series, and it makes the logistics of traveling a nightmare. Now, if there was rain for the 600 and no rain for the Indy 500, that works. That's totally fine. It allows Kyle Larson enough time to finish the 500 as we wait out a rain delay in Charlotte. But the way things have worked out the past 2 years, it's been a lot of money, a lot of resources. I don't want to say wasted because it has garnered great publicity and stuff like that. But when you're also adding in a documentary and things like that, it feels a little bit like a waste. So, not surprised that this seems to be the verdict for Kyle Larson for 2026. I think it's a major loss for IndyCar, quite honestly. Just having somebody like Kyle Larson in the field for the 500 is such a draw. People are going to watch the Indy 500 anyways because it is truly the greatest spectacle in motorsports. I don't care what anyone else says, it truly is. But when you have somebody like Kyle Larson in the field, it makes you want to watch a little bit more to see what he can do because he's one of the greatest racers in the world right now. I'm not saying he is. Let's chill for a second. I'm just saying he is one of the greatest racers out there. Let me make sure that I'm getting this off my screen here. Ooh, looking at our results. There we go. But yes, I do kind of agree with the fact that maybe we hold off a year. See what happens, hold off a year for the 500, then we can kind of just go from there. Thoughts on the win and you're in? Matthew over on TikTok asked this. Don't like it. Don't love it. I don't know about you all watching on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, you guys on TikTok as well, but I am not a huge fan of the win and you're in. I think when we had the old points format that we did, whether it was the Winston format or the early iterations of the chase, there wasn't a whole lot of emphasis on the wins. And so NASCAR did this win and you're in, obviously, to emphasize the wins and to make winning a more prominent point. The issue is win and you're in does not always reward consistency. You have drivers that will win maybe 4 or 5 races a year, right? And at that point, it's like, okay, like, cool, they're locked into the playoffs. When you get into the playoffs, though, because it is a 10-race stint and everything resets after 3 races, the win and you're in totally overtakes any progress that was made in the regular season. And I don't think that's totally fair. I feel like the playoffs should be a culmination of the best drivers of the season. And some of those drivers that have won a race were outside the top 30 in points. That doesn't make them one of the best drivers of the season. You want a playoffs that have all the drivers that feel like they can truly contend for a championship, not somebody who's there just based off of a win. Granted, in SVG's case, it was a convincing win, so I will give him that for sure. But does racing not great the rest of the season and getting one win solidify or justify a spot in the playoffs where it should be the best 16 drivers? I don't think so. That's just my personal opinion. But I also understand these are the rules that NASCAR has dealt out. So we're racing within the confines and in the sandbox of those rules. So I don't know. I do hope when we get to the playoffs and we have these drivers that have maybe won one race a year and are not in good point standings, I hope they justify the points. I hope they justify that spot in the playoffs. The one thing I hate is when we have a driver just get a surprise win at Daytona and they're irrelevant the rest of the season, or they get a surprise win at Daytona for the Coke Zero Sugar 400, and then they just get out the first round of the playoffs. Like, what a waste of spot. Like, I truly hate that. And SVG's credit, we have a bunch of road course races coming up on the schedule, which I think he will potentially get another win out of those and more so justify that spot. But again, he's still going to be like outside the top 25 in points at that point. Like, do we justify that? Well, I don't know. Buddy, say it louder for the people in the back. Thank you, buddy. Good to see you. And then Harrison Burton. Now, here's the thing with Harrison Burton last year. Yes, it was a feel-good win, right? I mean, the call for Lee Diffie, his father in the booth. Like, it was so fun. To me personally, that was one of the coolest interviews I think I've ever done. I went to the Wood Brothers Racing celebration at their shop here in North Carolina and got to talk to him and Jeremy Bolins. And it was so exciting, right? It was such an exciting time. So I hold that win close to my heart too, just from the affiliation with that there. But you're right. Harrison Burton had no reason to be in the playoffs outside of the NASCAR rulebook said he was. The performance didn't equal a playoff spot. So it was very frustrating. Hayek needs to switch to Ford and have RFK partnership since Ricky used to drive for RFK. I mean, hey, that could be a thing, Mike. It could be a thing. Blaney is going to win at Atlanta. Ooh, do we have early winning predictions for Atlanta? I think, again, anyone is on the table for Atlanta. Or I guess for Echo Park Speedway. Pardon me, guys. I need to get used to that. But any driver is on the table for a win there, quite honestly. I mean, you look at the Penske boys and how good they are at these super speedway type of tracks. Their teamwork, it's a matter of closing it out. We saw that they finally ended up closing it out with Austin Cindric at Talladega, so that's good. Yeah, Harrison Burton. Here's the thing, too. When you have an exciting win like that, like Harrison Burton or SVG, it's also cool and also fun. It's also grand. And then you remember, oh, that win locked them into the playoffs. And then it just kind of squashes the joy you had with that. And I kind of hate that. You're so happy to see back-to-back top 10s from John Henry Nemechek. I love to see that too. Pretty awesome there. Also, in case you don't know me and you're just tuning in for the first time, my name's Taylor Kitchen. Hi. I talk about NASCAR literally all the time on all my social media platforms. You might know me from my show Above the Yellow Line, an award-winning podcast next to NASCAR.com and MRN. I do on-air reporting for Racing America, talking to your favorite Cup Series drivers following the race weekends. It's been a joy to see you all across my feeds and just talking NASCAR all together. Jonathan, thank you so much for the kind words. Good to see you all tuning in. Yeah, Priest is looking more and more like a stud. Scotty, love that. He is doing so well. And I knew when he moved to RFK Racing, he would succeed. I predicted he'd win this season. I really did. I didn't know which track he would win. I should have put a bet on which track. But he will win this season. It's a matter of not if, but when. So I'm looking forward to seeing him continue to progress for that team because I feel like he's carried that team this year. I feel like he has. I feel like it's a right fit for an organization for him. I feel like he's with a team that believes in him. And Brad Keselowski on the post-race show, which we'll talk about Amazon Prime in a second here, was saying, I think a lot of people question our move to 3 cars, but it was the best decision for us because it allowed us to get more personnel, more resources on the engineering side, mechanical side, things like that. Priest has fit their mold so well. And obviously Priest having previously worked with Chris Buescher as a teammate before in years past, it just made a lot of sense. Oh my gosh, night racing at Atlanta on Saturday. I'm so excited. I'm a little bummed because I'm not going to be able to fully focus on it on Saturday with some short track racing I'm covering. So I'm going to be really pulling my focus there, but I am very excited about it. Your man Brad found a way to lose one. I hate that. NASCAR.shop, good to see you in there. Being a victory lane for the Harrison Burton win, seeing him with his dad was moving. It truly is. And again, I go back to the thought process that when we have those win and you're in moments, and you realize it's a win and you're in with a driver like Harrison Burton or SVG who have been so down in the points that season, it diminishes kind of the joy or the spark that win gives you. So I don't know. Again, it's more so us accepting that that's in the rule book and being good with it. I don't think we're ever going to be good with it. Ooh, greetings from Mexico. Hope the current format of the playoffs is gone by 2026. Thank you so much for tuning in all the way from Mexico. Yeah, I really do hope that the playoff format, it does change for 2026. And Steve O'Donnell and Steve Phelps, head leadership at NASCAR over here, have been very prominently saying, like, we are heavily looking into changes to the playoff format in 2026. We have a whole committee put together, drivers, fans, higher up stakeholders that are talking through what a new format would look like. And I think we've seen this format at its breaking point. You think about Martinsville last year where we had race manipulation, where we had so many different things, and you have this win and you're in and this whole debacle around the points and what you're going to do to get those wins. And then it undermines the competitiveness of the series. It undermines the competition. It undermines the legitimacy of the championship. And you don't want that. In any racing series, any sporting series, period, you don't want a format that you've created to undermine your own competition. It's not a good look. It's not great for the fans either. So I think looking at a new playoff format is imperative. I wouldn't be shocked if we got wind of a new playoff format taking place in 2026, whether it's during the offseason or whether they announce it maybe with the new schedule for 2026, whenever that does come out. Typically, the new NASCAR schedule for the next season comes out in August of each year. So we'll wait to see if that holds true. But I wouldn't be surprised if maybe they announced the new playoff format then, or if they just waited to announce it during the offseason, because sometimes the playoff format coincides with a schedule release, depending on how they do play it out. My hope, we ditch the win and you're in, and we get rid of a 1-race shootout for a championship. It needs to be 3 races with the best 4 drivers. I really do think so. That, in my opinion, says maybe you expand the playoffs to 3 more races. Maybe you do, because it's a 10-race stint. Maybe we make it, that'll be 12 then at that point. So you do 3 races with 16 3 races with 12, 3 races with 8, and 3 races with 4, the final 4, and that's how you do it. If they want to keep this elimination thing, then maybe do that. That's just my thought process. We even out the points once we get into the playoffs, and then we go from there, but there is no winning you're in. They should limit each team to 1 car so you get rid of the possibility of teammate manipulation. See, that I don't agree with. That's a good suggestion, but I don't agree with that. I see a change in the playoff top 25 in points. I think the way to fix it too is if you want to keep the win and you're in, do it. But maybe only allow the win and you're in for the top 20 in points. That way you're still making these kind of, I guess, I don't want to say back markers. That's not what I mean, but you're getting these teams who typically race towards the back of the pack to really fight their way forward. So a win can matter. And getting wins is excellent for your point situation. It should move you forward into the top 20 in points. Would you like to see a point system that hold on, I'm losing the comment. Would you like the point system they have now, say, but without the playoffs? I honestly think you do need a playoffs, is the thing. You battle entertainment and you battle You battle entertainment and you battle legitimacy of your championship, right? Those two things are not easy to juggle. And I think NASCAR's hit a breaking point where they're more towards entertainment than legitimate competition at some times, right? I think if you did the current format, but you got rid of the playoffs, you're still running into the same problem. Thank you for all the gifts and the love on TikTok. I appreciate that. What would you rate RCR? Okay, Duke, are we doing a scale of 1 to 10 out of 5 stars, letter rating? Because what are we thinking? Because I have an answer for all, I guess. Can the 43 win a race and get in? Eric Jones, I could see Eric Jones. He's won the Coke Zero Sugar 400 before. He could do it again. He could do it again this time, though, with Legacy Motor Club. He could potentially. Alex, you said, Taylor, will you be in Atlanta? Unfortunately, no, I will not be in Atlanta. I don't believe I'll be there for Daytona either for the Coke Zero Sugar 400. It has been my dream to go to that race. I don't know if that'll work out this year with budget and travel. Atlanta, unfortunately, won't work out this year either due to budget and travel, but wishing it could be a thing. Okay, Bristol Dirt. We need to talk about Bristol Dirt. But let me talk for a second, though. Before we head into more conversation, Andrew, good to see you in the chat. Michael, good to see you. Marty, good to see you. Let me take a sip of my sweet tea. Hold on. You all know I live in the South when I drink my sweet tea. Let's talk about Prime for a second, because I know we all have great things to say about Prime. Tyler, Brandon, Andrew, I'm going to get to your comments in a second. But this is Prime's last broadcast of the 2025 season. And it sucks. I'm not going to lie. I'm gutted that this is the last broadcast for Prime Video because they've done such an incredible job from Carl Edwards Analytics and from his, I want to say, like, personal and humble nature. I think whenever he's approached a conversation with a driver, it's added such a groundedness to the broadcast because a lot of the times that's when he's meeting these drivers for the first time. So you really are adding in a personal touch to every broadcast that you do, which I really love and I find very endearing from Carl Edwards. Corey LaJoie hit it out of the park. He was the one I was really nervous about on the Prime broadcast, and he just added a sense of levity to the broadcast, a sense of fun. I almost equate him to, and I don't mean any disrespect to Clint Boyer, but a more well-rounded Clint Boyer when it comes to the podcast. He knows when to push and pull, right? But I think he and Carl Edwards had such good chemistry on camera that I was not expecting. Then you have the ever so wonderful Danielle Tirada. She is a phenomenal human being who has such class and poise. She speaks so eloquently, and she's just so talented, right? And she does such a good job balancing out Carl and balancing out Corey. And I just don't think you could have put 3 people together better than what Prime did. They really had their pick of the best, and they really did for that pre-race and post-race show. Then you have the booth, Adam Alexander, class act, incredible guy. He and Danielle, I actually got to meet at the NMPA Awards banquet back in January. And they were the kindest human beings ever. Like, so nice. They were both like, hey, if you need to reach out to me, need any advice, information, whatever, like, I'm there for you, want to support you, like, etc. And like, they were so incredible. Adam Alexander cannot say enough nice things about him and his professionalism and just how well he does at the job. Dale Jr., Steve Letarte, just, God, I can't say enough good things about the entire team. Kim Kuhn, Trevor Bayne, like, it's a good broadcast when you're able to focus on the racing, but you're also like, damn, that broadcast is good. That's what this was. And I wish we could have that all season long. Now, I am very excited to see what the TNT broadcast can bring us. Some of the characters on those broadcasts stay the same. Some change. I will say, though, I'm excited to see NBC's broadcast. I miss those broadcasts every single year when we start off with Fox, and I'm like, oh, when's the NBC broadcast going to start? So I'm excited for that. But man, Amazon Prime set such a high bar that we're all going to be, I think, so disappointed when that broadcast stops. I hope TNT took some notes, 100%. Raise Hell, Praise Dell, let's go. That's an awesome YouTube handle. Love that. TNT, I hope they did take notes. I think a lot of what's worrying people with the TNT broadcast is there are kind of a lot of folks from the Fox broadcast on there. Now, that's not to say there's neither good nor bad there, right? I think the Fox broadcast, I don't think the issues totally lie within the talent. I think it lies within the production behind it. So I'm curious to see kind of what goes there. And the reason why they are changing the broadcast, iWrench on TikTok, is the new TV agreement for the next 7 years. We have this new TV agreement where we have the Fox portion of the schedule. Then we have a 5-race stint for Prime, 5-race stint for TNT, and then we have NBC closing out the season. And part of this is just revenue, to be quite honest with you. The more you spread out which broadcast partners have the series, the more revenue the sport makes, because you're shopping your product out to these different TV networks, or I guess streaming services. Wish there was more crashes. Why do we want more crashes, NASCAR fan? Yeah, 7 more years with Fox, I know. Here's my thing. IndyCar is exclusively on Fox now, for better or worse. And man, do I miss the NBC broadcast over there. Riley Herbst has had a tough season, not going to lie. He's had some glimmering moments, but it's been frustrating for him, for sure. All right, let's get back to some of your comments. Trevor Bain was enjoyable to listen to. Curtis, Timmy, you said Prime was awesome because it was raw and unedited. It totally was. And the other thing, too, we have to keep in mind is Fox, it has a certain window of time that they have on these broadcasts, right? There's not a lot of wiggle room in what you can do. Prime has a lot of wiggle room. It's on streaming. You can have an hour pre-race and post-race show without problem. You can be unscripted, unedited. You don't have a lot of guidelines to follow, right? When you're on streaming, there's a lot more you can do on streaming that you cannot do on broadcast television. So you have that they're working with as well. NBC better than Fox. Trevor Bain was enjoyable to listen to. We read that one. NASCAR.shop. Good to see you in here, by the way. Amazon dropped age demographics by decade. And that's the big thing, too. When you go to streaming, NASCAR is hitting their goal of trying to lower the age of NASCAR fans. And that's not necessarily a bad thing, right? I think when you say that NASCAR is trying to lower the age of their fans, you point out that, oh my God, like NASCAR's forgetting about the older demographic, whatever. I don't think that's the case, because NASCAR is reviving some of the short track races and some of these short tracks that we've gone to in the past to appease and maintain that older fan base. But you also have to understand the pivotal point we're at as a sport is if we keep catering to that older audience, we're not going to bring in some new fans that will continue to bring the sport forward. And at some point, we'll all get to that point where we're older and we're watching these cars and we're watching these drivers that we might not know about anymore because either we keep up with it or we don't. And we're like, oh, NASCAR's lost me because they're going a totally different direction. I don't understand for the youngsters. Like, we're going to be in that group too someday, right? So my whole thing, though, is right now it's a critical point as the world is changing, as the demographic of the sport is changing, as the demographics around the world are changing. It's important that NASCAR is taking this step, and going to streaming was such a genius move to do that. I know we were hesitant about it. I will be the first to say I was not a fan of going to streaming. I'm like, this is another subscription I have to buy, etc. But I already have Amazon Prime, so I already get Prime Video for free with my Amazon Prime subscription, and then getting TNT HBO. I decided to take the plunge and pay for the in-car cameras for the season, and you hear the driver audio and radio, and it's been one of the best investments I've ever made. At that point, you quite honestly don't totally need the NASCAR app scanner. I mean, I still get it too, so I can listen to the scanners like one by one more easily. But quite honestly, you only need really like the TNT. That's really the only thing you need. Mike Joy, I will say I miss. Ooh, the Late Lap Show. AJ, good to see you. Hope to see you soon. Ooh, South Boston would be fun to go to. I'm hoping to go to the Cars Tour race at Caraway next Wednesday. Fingers crossed. The Max cams are so awesome. It's so awesome. Let's see. Hopefully someday I will be at the Darlington race in the fall. I'll be at the Martinsville race in the fall. I'll be at the Roval in the fall. So those are the 3 other ones I'm going to in case you want to say hey. Let's look at some of our older comments here. I know I missed a few. Won't be in Atlanta. Andrew Kim, good to see you. It's crazy how fast 5 races on Prime coverage went by. It is crazy. It went by so incredibly fast. I was not expecting it. Did I see NASCAR on Fox tune in? Good to see you. Yeah, Prime was incredible. Prime, good to see you, by the way, in the YouTube chat. What do we got? Does Kyle Busch win this year? I don't think he does. I want him to. I'm not against Kyle Busch. I just don't think he gets a win. I don't think he does. Phil, oh my gosh, good to see you, Phil. You still have that Howie t-shirt for me. Oh my God, I need to get that Howie t-shirt. Howie has yet to get me his own gear, and I've been friends with him and I've worked for him since 2022. Come on, Howie, step it up. Need more Amazon Prime coverage next year? I hope so. Obviously, with the TV deal that we have, it locks us into what we've got for the next, I guess, after this year, 6 years. So we still have a ways to go. What do you think about Penske this season? Penske's done generally well. Kind of had a rough start to the season. Wasn't able to finish out some of the races that they should have won, all things considered. But now we're kind of picking up momentum, picking up speed. Obviously, Ryan Blaney kind of leading that organization. Has kind of the past 2 seasons, quite honestly. Cindric's done a lot better this year. I think he's getting more consistent results, which is good. A top 10 at Pocono is great, but Pocono is also a well-known great track for Penske as a whole. Ryan Blaney got his first win, not with Penske, but with Wood Brothers back in 2017, 2019. And then obviously, I mean, just the whole organization is great at Pocono. And then obviously Ryan Blaney, the defending winner of the track from last season. Obviously this season now not so much. That was Chase Briscoe's win to take. Who's your favorite underdog driver? Ooh, the question is, who are we considering underdog? Because I think this year some of that has changed a little bit. I think last year you would have considered maybe Carson Hocevar an underdog. I don't consider him an underdog anymore. That's a good question. I think a driver that I feel like teeters on underdog and is just like is decent every week. You talk about like Michael McDowell. I think John Henry Nemechek is finally like hitting his stride at what he can do at Legacy Motor Club. So I guess I consider him an underdog. Bowman, Sam, yeah, Bowman definitely an underdog pick. A little nervous for him with the playoff standings. Not gonna lie, he's on that bubble. Do you think RFK will win before the playoffs? Yes. I really do believe that we will see one of the RFK drivers win before the playoffs hit, and I think that driver will be Ryan Preece. However, we do have road course races coming up, and when I see road courses on the schedule, I think Chris Buescher. So we might see a Chris Buescher win. Daily Driven Racing, good to see you joining the chat. Thanks for tuning in. Yeah, fingers crossed you can get a win. I don't think Kyle Busch is washed. I don't think so. I think he's definitely struggled. Really hoping RFK can get a win soon. Really impressed with what the team has accomplished this past month. Race held Praisdale, absolutely. But Legacy Motor Club is underrated, which I don't think we would have been able to say until maybe a few races into the season. I think last year we were like, Legacy Motor Club is washed. They can't do anything, etc. And there's been frustration with how Legacy Motor Club was performing. I think that strengthened relationship with Toyota, that strengthened relationship even to like with 2311 Racing, Joe Gibbs Racing has really helped them. What do you think about Kyle Larson having a rough couple of races this past few weeks? That's a good question. Daily Driven Racing. Quite honestly, I'm not concerned about it. I mean, this point in the season is tough because it's literally, this is the halfway point of the season right here. And this point of the season, these teams start to get a little tired, a little exhausted. You also think about Hendrick Motorsports as a whole, though. They typically have a summer slump. So I'm not surprised by the rough couple of races for Kyle Larson, even let alone if it was any other Hendrick Motorsports team member, I want to be shocked because they hit the summer slump and then they rally and then they go to work in the playoffs. It's just, they're good. They're good at what they do in that regard. So I'm not, but am I surprised by it? A little bit? Yes, at least, especially for Kyle Larson, but I'm not concerned by it. Yeah, there you go. They struggle over the summer every year. Johan Nemechek has done pretty well this year. Also, congratulations. I want to back it up a little bit to Chase Briscoe for winning at Pocono this weekend. Very impressive win for him, fuel saving. I know he has been kind of scratching on the door of getting a win in that number 19 car. A lot of pressure there just to kind of fulfill a legacy that was for Martin Truex Jr. And obviously getting the win is awesome for him. So congrats there for him. I know James Small has to be relieved as well. I mean, he's been wanting to go to victory lane for quite some time now. It's been a bit for that number 19 car. So congrats to him. Oh, about the in-season tournament. What about Snickerdoodle? Good to see you. Oh, can we talk about the in-season tournament? Oh my God. So, not gonna lie, I'm lost on it. I really am. I don't know how the seeding is working, and I'm sure we're gonna get more of that information this week because the in-season tournament starts at Atlanta this coming weekend, and it ends at Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Yeah, we're all a little lost, and that's totally fine. I'm gonna see if they have something on here about it. Sorry, I've been talking so much. Sorry, sweet tea break. Let's see, in-season tournament NASCAR. Here we go. We've got our matchups here. 20 minutes ago, Fox Sports. Denny Hamlin earned the top seed in the inaugural version of NASCAR's in-season challenge with a 5-race bracket-style tournament to kick off next week at Atlanta. Let's see. Denny Hamlin will go head-to-head against the 32nd seed Ty Dillon, so we know that Denny Hamlin's going to win. Briscoe earned the 2nd seed. Chris Buescher is 3rd. Christopher Bell is 4th, and Chase Elliott 5th. Chase Elliott's had a pretty solid past few races. Let's see if we have a whole list of seeding here. I'm sure on the NASCAR website, we're also going to have the in-season challenge kind of brackets here. So let's give it a second. Oh, I don't want to subscribe to that. So the first seed, here's the rankings. Let's talk about this real quick. So the in-season bracket challenge again starts at Atlanta and it ends at Indianapolis Motor Speedway. The first seed is Denny Hamlin. He'll face off against 32nd seed Ty Dillon. Then we have the 16th seed Kyle Busch versus 17th seed Brad Keselowski. That'll be an interesting one. 8th seed Alex Bowman versus the 25th seed Joey Logano. Joey Logano has not had a great few races. 9th seed Bubba Wallace. 24th we have Daniel Suarez. 5th Chase Elliott. 28th Austin Dillon. 12th John Hunter Nemechek. 21st Josh Berry. If you go onto my YouTube channel, I'm going to share the screen here for you all so we can kind of all look through it together. Let's share the screen, shall we? Because it's one thing me talking about it. It's another thing to actually look through it together. There we go. Perfect. We go on down. John Hunter Nemechek versus Josh Berry. Christopher Bell versus Ricky Stenhouse Jr. Ross Chastain versus Eric Jones. Ty Gibbs versus Justin Haley. Michael McDowell versus AJ Allmendinger. That's going to be fun to see going into Atlanta for sure. Chris Buescher versus Todd Gilliland. Zane Smith versus Austin Cindric. Ryan Blaney versus Carson Hocevar. That's one you're going to want to watch out for, especially Atlanta. Kyle Larson, Tyler Reddick, Chase Briscoe versus Noah Gragson, and Ryan Preece versus William Byron. That was kind of out of order there from the 1st to 2nd seed. Each driver earned their seed due to Denny Hamlin winning at Michigan, Chase Briscoe winning at Pocono, that 2nd seed. Chris Buescher getting a 2nd at Michigan. Christopher Bell getting 2nd at Mexico City earns him that 4th seed. Chase Elliott 3rd at Mexico City. So you kind of just go down the line here. I feel like it's kind of dumb that they did the seeding based off of finishing positions of the past 3 races, but like, call me crazy. Call me crazy. Excuse me. Do you think the status of the championship, let's remove that, is starting to lose its admiration in general with the current format of the playoffs? Absolutely. I think when we talk about the championship format, right? Like you want to be like, okay, this driver outright earned it, but these drivers the past few years have earned it in the confines of the format that we have, right? So I don't want to disregard anyone's championship because, I mean, it's all hard fought and earned in its own right and regard. But you want to see a driver earn it from the start of the season to the end of the season. Hey, we all want to see Chase Elliott back in victory lane. Maybe we don't. I don't know. But I think it'd be great to see the most popular driver in the sport go back to victory lane because that could only help the sport, right? Why has it not been talking about the in-season tournament? I think part of it is I don't think that NASCAR's done a good job promoting it as much. Obviously, it had a lot of steam and it had a lot of kind of hype behind it last year when Denny Hamlin kind of did it nonchalantly on his podcast, Action Detrimental, last year. And it gained a lot of hype. And then they announced it. And then it was almost like, I think of it this way. Oh, hello, LinkedIn. Like the cool kids were like talking about something cool, or like you're talking about something cool with your friends. And you're like, oh my gosh, this is so awesome. Then your parents say it, and you're like, ooh, it's no longer cool. I don't know if that's the case with the in-season tournament or what. I really don't know. Uh, but it just hasn't gotten the publicity. I think too, the in-season tournament, the way they've formatted it is complicated. Fans don't like complicated. You think about the All-Star race and how complicated that's been the past few seasons. The more complicated it is, the less inclined the fans are going to care or pay attention. And I feel like from the seeding and things like that, it's just been way too much. Now, I understand wanting to do this in-season tournament and tying it into the streaming that we've had this year with the TV deal to kind of raise more interest in that. But I think it's just overcomplicated it. Welcome to the playoffs, Chase Briscoe. All right. Pierre, good to see you. Atlanta is the right race to start the in-season tournament if you want first round upsets. That's the thing too, is some people say it's maybe unfair. Oh, Sam, good to see you on YouTube. Some people say it's unfair to start the in-season tournament at Atlanta because you're going to have first round upsets. But ultimately, like, the in-season tournament doesn't directly impact the championship fight, right? It technically does in a way, because you're thinking if these drivers are going to fight for $1 million and they want to do everything possible to finish better than the guy ahead of them that they're battling against, then you're going to do whatever it takes. And doing whatever it takes could, down the road, impact your point standings for a championship, getting into the playoffs, etc. Because everyone now wants to try to win a race to go to the next round to win $1 million, right? So it does have indirect consequences. This is something I talked about. I literally had a whole Twitter thread just dedicated to just spilling my guts about like my thoughts on the in-season tournament. Because I was like, do we realize like this could actually be a huge like playoff, just crazy thing to happen, right? They just game this, and that's the thing, they game the system sometimes, right? It's complicated, but I also feel like they could do a better job with explaining it to the audience. And that's the thing. I wish what they could have done better. And granted, it is on TNT's portion of the schedule, and they're going to have a whole dedicated section of the broadcast, post-race or pre-race, I forget which one it is, following along with this in-season tournament. So fans, I do wish they would have explained it more ahead of the tournament so we kind of understood why NASCAR is doing this and like the seating for it and everything like that. But the TNT portion of the broadcast will really hone in on it. I think that's going to further complicate it if you have a new audience watching NASCAR. They're going to be like, okay, in-season tournament does not have to do anything with the playoffs. What are the playoff points? Like a new audience that's trying to learn all about NASCAR that they can is going to be confused. That's crap. I had to totally refrain myself from using a certain word there. They're going to be confused as crap watching NASCAR if they're going to watch it for the first time. But then you also have 2 road courses, so it's going to mix up the bracket too. The people who have the best chance of winning $1 million, I guess, all things considered, and then the next 5 races are those that are good at road courses. To be quite honest with you, you have it's Atlanta, 2025 NASCAR schedule. I'm like the in-season challenge. Excuse me. 2025 NASCAR. You have Atlanta, Chicago, don't know what that was. Sonoma, Dover. Oh, Dover is going to be like, Dover is honestly the most normal track in this whole list, which is great. I mean, I guess Indianapolis Motor Speedway too, sure, but so that's tough, right? How do we do a bracket? Can't get it to work. I would say check back in to the NASCAR website tomorrow evening or Tuesday. So they have time to set the bracket. I'm sure they're still I don't think they're still waiting on post-race inspection. That should be done at this point. But check back into the NASCAR website for the in-season challenge tomorrow evening, and things should be caught up there. Briscoe will get another one at Richmond. Bold. I like it. Jared, good to see you. The seeding should have gone off the top 32 at the end of Pocono. Not the weird points thing yeah, I hate that. They just went off of who had the best finishing position of each race, and I'm like, go off the points. Make the points matter. No, I totally agree with you. Byron, Denny, William Byron, Denny Hamlin, Ryan Blaney, and Chris Buescher, I think, do have the best chance of winning this 100%. You also think too, like, we could have a surprise winner. Like, I'm looking at these races that we have. My brain goes to Michael McDowell. I don't know why. I mean, well, I do know why. I think with the road courses that we have, I think he has a shot. I mean, SVG could surprise win it, but you also have to be good at these ovals too, right? I think Dover is a pretty good track for Michael McDowell as well. You could see Carson Hocevar win it. Why not? But I think Michael McDowell is really good consistency-wise at all these tracks. Is he's the best consistency-wise at all these tracks as compared to like Ryan Blaney and stuff like that? Like, no, but you could see. Evan, good to see you tuning in. Thank you so much. Have a feeling Dodge is back in Cup in 2027 is because okay, so yes, so there is a rumor that Dodge is going to be coming back into NASCAR's Cup Series in 2027. I think that's pushing it. I think we could see them coming back in 2028 because when Dodge came back and joined, or I guess Ram, Dodge, whatever you want to call it, came in and joined the Truck Series, announcing that for 2026, there is a wider plan to now have Dodge back in NASCAR at some capacity in the next few years. I think 2027 is a very quick turnaround, all things considered. So I would expect maybe 2028. If it's 2027, albeit I'll be fine with that. All right, everybody. Make sure to check out AboveTheYellowLine.com for more information about me, what I do. Check out all my social media platforms. It's always so good to talk to you all. We will have a live stream on Wednesday night at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time with the entire ATYL Media crew. Also, shout out to Sway for these hats. They're so cool. I love these hats so much. They have our logo on it. Not available for sale yet. So just kind of be on the lookout. Trying to get a plethora of these so I can put them on the shop and get them out to you guys very soon. But just be on the lookout for those. But yeah, go to AboveTheYellowLine.com. Follow us on our social media accounts. And if you want to have another live stream chat like we're doing this time, again, Wednesday night at 7 p.m. with the entire ATYL Media crew talking about Formula One, IndyCar, NASCAR, NHRA had a pretty big weekend this week. So we will kind of check that all out together. But thank you all so much for tuning in to this live stream. Again, appreciate you all so much. Hopefully my content will go back to normal and I'll have my full race recaps up starting like next weekend. Should get back to normal for a little bit. So we'll see. Fingers crossed. And thank you all so much for tuning in and I'll see you next time. Bye.